Hansel and Gretel were abandoned in a dense forest and then fell into the hands of a witch who lived in an alluring house made of gingerbread, cake, sugar, and candy. It was the perfect bait for little kids with empty stomachs. Who doesn't want to stumble on a gingerbread house loaded up with gummy bears and Swedish skull candy? The witch, however, was not like Glinda of The Wizard of Oz. No, this witch had very evil intentions. Basically, she wanted to barbecue the kids in her oven, maybe baste them with a nice, rich barbecue sauce, and then indulge. Why am I retelling an old German fairy tale? It's because missing siblings Lily and Jack Sullivan of Lansdowne, Nova Scotia, Canada, remind me of Hansel and Gretel, a brother and sister who are best friends and who have each other's backs. 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack were, per their mother's partner, Daniel Martell, besties. And according to Martell and the kid's mother, Malia Brooks Murray, they left their home via a sliding door to go outside to play in the morning and then either wandered off into the dense, dark woods surrounding their home or were nabbed by someone with evil intent who happened to be passing by the remote property at the same time the kids were outside alone. Now, Daniel Martell has recently told us that neither Lily nor Jack liked to be outside in the cold when it was raining, which makes me think they likely did not walk out the sliding door to play in the early morning hours there. I also find it hard to believe that a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old could open a sliding door easily, reach the handle, and do it all without the mother and the stepfather hearing it. It's another one of those Don and Candace Wells type stories that just don't make sense. What really scares me is the timeline of this story. We know that the kids were last seen by somebody outside the family when they were dropped off at their home after elementary school on April 29th. The next day, there was no school, April 30th, and then we have May 1st, and then May 2nd, and on those 2 days, there was school. But the kids, both of them, were kept home because, according to the mother and the stepfather, if we want to call him that, Lily had a sore throat or a cough. Why would they have to keep Jack home if it was Lily with the ailment? That doesn't make a lot of sense. And again, the timeline is scary because we don't know when exactly those kids disappeared. Yes, we could try and take the parents' side of the story, and they're telling us that they disappeared on May 2nd, but technically those kids could have disappeared any time after they were dropped off by the bus driver, Mr. Ward, on April 29th. That would have given the mother and the stepfather, if there is foul play involved, ample time to hide the evidence. I am speculating. Nobody has accused them or charged them with any crime, but the circumstances of the kids' disappearance are suspicious, and some of the things the mom and the dad have said, I should, again, call him the stepdad or partner, I don't know what he is. What they've said is very suspicious. By the way, that bus driver, Mr. Ward, had some really nice things to say about Lily and Jack. And he said he is devastated that they are missing. He said that Jack has quite the sense of humor, and he will sometimes take off a boot and throw it at the bus driver. And the bus driver, I think, finds this amusing, and it's not done, or I didn't get the impression it was done in a violent manner. And he also said that Lily has sort of a squealy type of laugh. Both children sound like they laugh a lot, they do chatter. And if you look at their faces, they're so adorable and they have big wide grins. So maybe all of us are wrong about these kids. Well, I shouldn't say all of us, but those of us who feel like maybe the mother and the stepdad or partner could be involved. And again, little kids can put on a smile even when they're hurting on the inside. Now, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or RCMP as they're known, are said to be intensifying their efforts to find Jack and Lily. And Daniel Martell, by the way, has also said that the two kids have undiagnosed autism and that they typically do not stray far from home. I'm trying to figure out how he knows that they have autism if they have not been diagnosed. According to the RCMP, as of May 15th, investigators have identified 35 people for formal interviews, and they are said to be focusing on community members and others with direct ties to the siblings. Remember, this community is very small. I think they said there's like 100 inhabitants. And the RCMP team includes specialized personnel from multiple units, including the Major Crime and Forensic Unit. The officials are saying they've received more than 180 tips, although they said that most of those were determined to be unhelpful. And though they said they were scaling back the search, they are doing ground searches in targeted areas. And they say that officers are analyzing forensic evidence along with information from the community. And the search was narrowed on May 7th to targeted areas within about 2 square miles of dense rural forest near Gairloch Road. And it has included as many as 160 trained volunteer searchers, along with additional support from others. I worry because the mother and the stepfather have not shown a lot of emotion when talking about the children. Think about your kids, your grandchildren. If they went missing, if one of them or two of them went missing, would you not be crying your eyes out? I know that I would probably need to be given tranquilizers, and in between crying in my bed, I'd be out running around that forest looking for the kids. There would be a lot of emotion bubbling up in me when I spoke about those children. Even if my cat went missing, I'd be the same way because I have had a cat go missing. And believe you me, I went into action. I was searching everywhere. I was slapping posters up all over the place. I was going through the community, looking behind every wall. I also had my brother go missing in December for 2 days. And I went ballistic then as well, and I spent 2 very miserable nights tossing and turning, thinking that he was not alive and he was lost and something bad had happened or was going to happen. Thankfully, I found my cat, and I did find my brother too, which was an absolute miracle. I'm just saying that my emotions would be over the top. I would be crying. I would be hysterical. I would be pleading with everybody to help me look. I would be pleading with whoever maybe took the kids. I'd be on the news talking about those kids. I would not disappear somewhere. Now, I did a video already about the words that the mother spoke about the children when she was interviewed by reporters. And today I want to look at some of the things the stepfather or partner, whatever you want to call him, Daniel Martell has said. I think when we don't have other evidence, all we really have are those interviews to look at. Look at the people, look at their body language, think about what they're saying, their word choice, their emotions. Before I play you the words of Daniel Martell, I want to talk about the things I want you to listen for and look for. The first thing he says is that the last few days have been very stressful. That is Daniel Martell talking about himself, how he feels, what's happened to him. What he should be talking about are the children. He should be jumping right into their names, what they look like. Please be looking for them. Maybe he should be talking directly to them in case they can hear him and saying, "We're looking for you. We will not stop till we find you." The fact that he's more concerned with his own situation at the moment is somewhat disturbing. Now, he does stumble over his words. He was going to say children or kids. He kind of goes between the two. That may just be the way he speaks. He might have a bit of a stutter, or he may be trying to recall a narrative that maybe he and the mother have agreed upon. This is me speculating. It's just something to look at. He also doesn't speak in complete sentences. Instead of saying, "I immediately jumped in the vehicle," he says, "immediately jumped in the vehicle." And just like with the mother, he seems to be emphasizing how quickly he jumped into action to look for the kids. And I think that this is his way of trying to tell us that he is a good parent or parental figure, and that he was very concerned about the kids, so he immediately jumped into the vehicle. He says he surveyed many areas, many roads, many culverts. Again, this is designed to make him look like somebody who was really worried, and he's jumping into action and he's looking all over the place. I think the word choice, surveyed, is a bit odd. Wouldn't you say I searched many areas? And again, why is he not using pronouns? I would say, I searched many areas, I searched all over the place, I drove down this road and I went down that road. And if you think about it, to survey an area is just to kind of scan it with your eyes. It doesn't mean that you're actually getting in the woods and digging through the brush. Also, shouldn't he be saying their names like Lily and Jack instead of just talking about them as the children? To me, it's a little bit distancing to hear him say the children instead of, "I was looking for Lily and I was looking for Jack." In another interview, he talks about "we were searching," but he doesn't say who the "we" are. Is he talking about himself and Malia, the mother? He says something like, "Even in the first day, even with me running through the woods, ahead of the helicopters and the drones." Again, this is him sort of showing how virtuous he is, that he was so quick to respond. He was ahead of the helicopters and the drones, and he was running. But when you're searching, are you really running through the woods? Wouldn't you be sort of walking carefully, observing things around you, digging through the brush, looking under things? You wouldn't just be running through there. He said he was screaming as loud as he could until his throat hurt. It's like he's trying to prove to us how hard he was looking. "I screamed so loud that my throat ended up hurting." We don't really need to know that, right? That's sort of like word salad that's not really adding to the story of, help me find Lily and Jack. It's more like, let me tell you about what I did and how hard I worked and how loud I screamed. He even claims that he ran through water that was up to his waist. If you've ever been in a swimming pool and you've tried to run through the water, you know it's not that easy to do. I'm assuming when he says he ran through the water, it wasn't in a pool. It must have been a body of water, which would have made it even more challenging to run through. This makes me think that probably didn't happen. And again, he's like, "Oh, and the water was up to my waist. I went in this dangerous body of water, risking my life." He does cry a little at the end of that one. And to me, it seems genuine. I don't want to admit that because I feel like there's something sketchy going on here, but the tears did kind of come up. Is it possible he knows what happened to the kids? Maybe it was an accident. Maybe he feels bad. I'm speculating, okay? That's what we do in true crime. What kind of freaks me out is that they talk about Lily having a cough or a sore throat. I read both of those. And now he's saying that his throat hurts. when you hear the echoing of those things, it's a little bit, it catches your attention. Like, what's going on with all these throats? Why are we talking about throats? And keep in mind that the mother, supposedly, is no longer speaking to this man, Daniel Martell. She supposedly blocked him, and she's now with her family, so she did not stay on the property, which is a property that's been in Daniel Martell's family for generations. Those are kind of suspicious moves to make when your children are missing. Don't you want to be in the area where they were before they disappeared? And why are you upset with your partner if both of you were in the bedroom when the two kids went missing? You guys are together. You have a baby together. Shouldn't you be both working together to find the kids? Like, what is really going on here? They are not telling us the whole story. If they were, the mother would be explaining why she's no longer speaking with her partner. Another word that keeps coming up is woods. And yes, there's a lot of woods around this house. In the final segment of audio that I have of Daniel, he says, as soon as I seen they were missing, I jumped right in the vehicle and I did every dirt road and searched every culvert. Again, strange wording. I did every dirt road. I think he means I drove down every dirt road. He also, again, shares that sense of immediacy. I jumped right in the vehicle. He's saying he was very quick to action. He also says the very first day I wasn't around very much because I was just searching, I was running through. Either he has a slight stutter or he's very nervous when he's talking to the reporters, because he said, as soon as I seen the very first day. So again, he's repeating his same narrative. And he also says that he was running through the woods, screaming their name, not names, he says name, until my throat hurt. Once again, he's moving quickly through the woods. He's running and he's screaming their names until his throat hurts. That could be either the truth, and that's why he has said it to two different, in two different interviews, or it could be the narrative that he's come up with. So he keeps repeating some themes. He talks about water. He talks about the woods. He talks about sore throats. He talks about how quickly he jumped into action. And he makes it sound like the searching was his number one priority as soon as he noticed the kids were missing. In a later part of that, he says they hate being wet and cold. So they immediately would have came back into the house. I think they wouldn't have left the house if they hate being wet and cold. He then says the only two prints are right beside the house, facing the road, and then that's it. I don't know if that's him trying to say that somebody came up there and grabbed them, but then wouldn't there be other prints like tire tracks, footprints? He does go on to say, anybody, if you think you've seen something, share it, call the police. He says, any messages from friends about hearing something? Again, that's kind of an awkward way to put that. He says, anything, guys, anything. At least he's asking for help there. I'll give him that. He also goes on to say, I'm still out here, still searching, fighting for them. Kind of wipes his eyes and he says that's all he can do. What's disturbing here is that he's got a scratch on his left eye going down his face. What's that about? He says he's still searching every day and he's waiting for information, but I can't stop staring at that scratch on his face. He says there's a lot of stuff that needs to be coordinated. And he says, I can't just go running through the woods. He says he wants to go running through the woods, but he can't right now. I'm going to share those segments with you. You take a look at it. Let me know what you think in the comments. You guys always have great ideas. You see things I don't necessarily see. So I do appreciate that interaction with you. And I will see you next time on Bed Crime Stories. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Days are very stressful. I mean, ever since the Friday morning, when we noticed that the children were gone, immediately jumped in the vehicle, surveyed all the areas, many dirt roads, many culverts as I could, and waited for the police to get there. We were searching. We covered everywhere possible. Even in the first day we did, even with me running through the woods, I was ahead of the helicopters and ahead of the drones and stuff like that. Screaming as loud as I can, and just until my throat hurt. Running through water that was up to my waist. And as soon as I got back, I wasn't allowed back in the woods until a man dressed in a military outfit said I could go back into the woods. It went cold, so they immediately would have came right back into the house. The only two prints are right beside the house facing the road, and then that's it. I'm out here still searching, still fighting to try to find them. That's all I can do.
The message is still, if anyone knows anything?
If anybody knows anything, just come forward as soon as possible. Two little kids are still out there. I want to find them. That's really all I can do. Still searching every day. I'm waiting for information. I have to let them do a lot of their stuff with the aircrafts and everything else, and dogs and searchers. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be coordinated, and I can't just go running through the woods. I want to, but I just can't right now because the search is just so far out.